the last year or so, I have switched all of my short film and other narrative productions to shooting exclusively on my iPhone. There are so many great mirrorless and cinema cameras out there, so why go to all the trouble to shoot on your phone? To start off with, I want to tell you a little bit of a story. Around about a year or so ago, I got back into playing soccer or football, depending on what part of the world you're from. Within first week of training, I managed to happen to fall over and fracture my wrist. Being in the filmmaking and cinematography kind of industry, that was a bit of a problem, and I needed to actually get back into shooting somehow. So I remember I bought the iPhone 16 Pro at the time then and was thinking to myself, hey, like this phone can shoot in Apple Log. That's pretty much exactly how it happened. The iPhone is so lightweight and it was so nimble and small, and I knew I was able to hold it in my hand when I did injure myself. It's led to where we are now. It has quickly become my favorite cinema camera to use, which will surprise a lot of people because they'll be like, oh, that's not a cinema camera. Well, it quickly has become mine, and I want to share with you all the reasons why that is the case. So let's start off with portability and speed. Because of how small the phone is and how easy and nimble it is to put it up in different places, quickly set up shots, and do anything that comes to my mind while I'm on set is one of the biggest reasons why it's really easy for us to get so many shots in during a production day versus if we are in a bigger setup with a larger camera and crew system where we would need so much more time and support in order to get cameras into different shots and everything. For example, if I needed to get a really high shot, I could easily clamp the phone to a C-stand and put it up really high, and we can capture a shot of a store or a large forest environment really, really quickly. Or if I wanted to quickly get the phone down and put it into a really tight space within a car, it's super easy to do that. So that leads me into point number 2, and that's having a minimal crew and setup. Personally, with all of my short films and projects, I don't like having a big overbloated crew and filling in every single little minute role and having just too many people on set. I like having as few cooks in the kitchen, as I guess you could say, as possible. I think the most amount of people we've ever had on a set at once was around about 7 people or so, including all the crew and cast as well. But just I've found with all of our iPhone sets, we can just go out to a location, just have 3 of us, including talent, and just shoot something that looks really, really great and still have all the features and the functions that we might need. And point number 3 is that everything is so much smaller and lighter. Obviously, the phone itself is really small compared to my cinema camera, but I'm talking about everything else, including the accessories, the lenses, power, battery. Everything that I need to shoot with my iPhone is so much more compact and tiny. It makes it really easy to carry all of my iPhone gear to set. For example, I don't actually keep my iPhone gear in storage anywhere. It lives permanently in a specific carry-on Pelican case, and all of it's there. Everything that I use is always there. So there's never a time where I need to go on set. I'm like, okay, what iPhone gear am I going to leave at home? And because of that, rigging up the phone is super easy too. Because of everything being small and light, all the rigging equipment that comes along with it is also really, really minimal as well.
Hello there, Soccer Kirk back here again. Now, if you've been liking some of the reasons about why I shoot on iPhone so far, and you're thinking about taking your iPhone filmmaking game a little bit more seriously, boy, have I got something for you. Our video sponsor today, Skillshare, offers creative classes taught by real working filmmakers. And because you're watching this iPhone filmmaking video, there's a few specific classes on Skillshare that I'd love to recommend to you. The first one is iPhone Filmmaking Create Cinematic Video with Your Phone by Caleb Babcock and Niles Gray. Their class focuses on visual storytelling, movement, and making phone footage feel deliberate. Their class is awesome. And finally, although it's not specifically an iPhone filmmaking class, it's one that I took a few years ago and absolutely loved. And that's Cinematography Basics, Introduction to Lighting Techniques by Zach Mulligan. It's a great foundational class for understanding how lighting choices can completely change the emotion of a scene. There's also a lot more on Skillshare than just filmmaking. You'll find classes on editing, color theory, sound design, marketing, and many other creative disciplines. You can learn whenever you want at your own pace and fit it around all of your projects. If you want to check it out, the first 500 people that use my link in the description below or the QR code on screen will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare, so you can get started today. And now, back to some more iPhone filmmaking.
Okay, number 4 is the look. This is obviously very, very subjective, but shooting in Apple Log and ProRes RAW, which I'll get into in a little bit, I just love the look that comes out of the iPhone. The actual iPhone sensor that's currently in the 17 Pro, and I believe the 16 Pro as well, is technically almost, if not just a little bit bigger than 8mm film. So the actual sensor size is almost the exact size of 8mm film. And I love leaning into that. Just the quality that comes out of it. You obviously need to play around a little bit, but I think you can get some really good natural bokeh as well too. In fact, I was watching a documentary recently called Fire of Love. It's a really, really awesome documentary on volcanoes and everything. And the way that I like to grade my iPhone footage and comparing it to the 8mm and 16mm cameras that they were using on that documentary, the actual images and the color looks really, really similar, and the way that the bokeh looks in the background too. Obviously subjective, but personally for me, I just love the look that comes out of the phone. Okay, so now moving on to a new feature with the iPhone 17 Pro, and that is shooting in open gate. I absolutely love having all of my films being in 1:5:1. I don't know why, just composition and everything is that's just my jam, I guess. And being able to utilize the entire sensor and get a much larger, grander field of view from the sensor itself. The iPhone sensor is already quite small because it's in a phone, but being able to utilize the whole thing is absolutely awesome. It shoots in 4224 by 3024, which means I can crop up to like 1.3 times if I'm using a like 1:5:1 timeline. So there's so much positioning to be able to move shots around. I love watching all the films that are shot on like Arri Alexas and everything in OpenGate. So the fact that this feature is on a phone is unreal. Now let's take a look at the software side of things. Now, when I first got my cinema camera, my Blackmagic cameras a few years ago, I was absolutely shocked that I could change ISO and camera settings later on a camera. And these are big professional cinema cameras, I guess you could call it. But now you can just do that on the iPhone. Granted, the file sizes are absolutely huge. I think the last short film that we captured, which was only a 4-minute short film, all the footage was around about 960 gigabytes. But granted that, you can go into DaVinci Resolve, change the ISO later in post, and have a look at the different options as well as the white balance and get so much more data out of it. Okay, so reason number 7. This is a bit more of a weirder one, but it has to do with locations. And what I mean by that is that whenever you go up to a location, let's say a convenience store, a shopping center, a mart, or wherever it might be, if you're trying to find a location to shoot your short film on, if you say to the owner and be completely reasonable and say, hey, I'm shooting a short film on my iPhone for a small project, would you let us shoot here? More often than not, people are either not going to question it or they'll think it's a much smaller production and they'll be far more likely to actually accept your offer and come and shoot on the location. Now, granted, it's always good to get permission where you think you might need it, but if you are in an area where it's a public space, for example, if you come up with like a massive cinema rig and all these lights and everything like that, more often than not, you're going to get asked to get out of there. But if you just come with your iPhone setup, if you use the tagline, hey, I'm shooting my short film on an iPhone, more likely they'll say yes because they don't think you're a huge deal like, I don't know, Christopher Nolan or something, even though he probably is never going to shoot on an iPhone, but that's important. Point number 8 is wireless monitoring and camera control. Pairing it up with my iPhone and the Blackmagic app and the iPad, I can easily and quickly set up a wireless feed of my iPhone footage, check exposure, monitor, and even control the camera. Like for example, I love being able to rack focus and use it on the iPad, be able to have the iPad a little bit further away from the phone, have someone else being able to review the picture and everything, just have a larger screen as well. It's so good that I don't need any other attachments and quickly be able to set up a very low latency feed, might I add, to wirelessly transmit my iPhone signal. Point number 9, and that is cost efficiency. Now, hold on. I know a lot of people say that shooting with an iPhone is expensive, and if you just add all these accessories, like you may as well buy a cinema camera. Well, here's the thing. If you think about it, if you need a phone and you need a camera, why don't just invest and just get the phone itself? You'll find that a lot of the actual rigging accessories, lenses, adapters, everything that I've mentioned before is actually so much cheaper than actually going out and buying expensive lenses for gear. If you just grab the iPhone, maybe just one lens or so and an ND filter, that whole setup on its own will be so much cheaper than tons of other mirrorless cameras options out there. But if you need a phone and you need a camera, seriously, just consider grabbing the phone and making the most out of it. Point number 10 is accessibility. Almost everybody on this planet has access to a phone, and because everyone has access to devices like these, you may as well just go out and try shooting with it. I think the democratization of camera equipment has increased so much over the last few years, where the cost to entry to be able to shoot a film has fallen significantly, that you can get some incredible quality just out of the phone itself. Forgetting accessories, gear, everything, it's so accessible, it's so easy to learn. The Blackmagic camera app, for instance, is free on iOS and Android and gives you a plethora of pro features on every single device, and you can just jump in and learn how to use it and understand what the differences do. And point number 11, my final point, is the fact that I've found that shooting on iPhone really allows us and you to focus more on what matters, and that's the story. Because of all the reasons I've said so far, and of how much easier it is and how less friction it is to shooting on iPhone, you can just worry about getting your idea out there, going out and shooting. You don't need to stress too much about how hard it might be to rig up the camera, or how expensive it might be, or how much crew you need. Everything is so much more streamlined when you do shoot on the iPhone, and personally for me, I've found it so much easier just to go out and shoot. That being said, if you have any questions at all, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. Until next time, have a great day, stay safe, and of course, do take care.